Hello everyone. So in this video I'm gonna do a unboxing and a complete assembly of a skateboard, so you guys can see how easy it is to actually just buy your skateboard parts and then assemble everything by yourself. You don't have to spend money for the shops to assemble it for you, because really all you need is just a few very simple tools. Okay, so the skateboard that I bought is from a website called Skateboard. I've been buying skateboards from them for a few times, and various skateboard and longboard parts. So the reason I got this one is, if you looked at my previous videos, I actually bought my very first skateboard from Skateboard Warehouse, and while that board got me started into skateboarding, I learned how to skate for the very first time on that skateboard. But I have since sold that skateboard. I have bought a longboard, and now my concentration is actually on the longboard, to be able to cruise around and learn some very basic tricks. So what got me into buying this skateboard is that my local, so when I'm going to work every day, there is a local park in Miami called Lot 11, and it's close to downtown area of the Miami. Before I really got into skateboarding, I always see that park on my way home and going to work. But last month they closed the park and they started actually doing renovations on the park, and I saw they actually bought in a few components for a few different kinds of bowls and the jobs. So I was really excited, because on my way to work and going from work to home, I'm able to actually just visit that park almost every day. So I'm like, what the heck, why not? Let me just get another skateboard. Maybe this one is more suited for bowl skating instead of doing tricks on the street, because by nature I'm kind of old and I'm not really that good into learning crazy tricks. And I think bowl skating sounds fun, so I want to really give it a try. That's the reason I got this one. And I picked all the parts online, and I chose the option of no assembly. Let's see. So this is, I'm gonna show you guys all the various things. So hopefully it fits into this camera. Now over here is a very nice looking grip tape. And I chose this because the graphic is kind of interesting, and I think this is made by Blind, a skateboard company. Yes, this grip tape definitely looks really nice. Even looks nice on the camera. So I'm gonna put this aside. And this skateboard is interesting because I've researched quite a lot before I bought this skateboard, my second skateboard, because the bowl skating is, from people say, slightly different from street skating and doing tricks. So I need a board that's actually much wider than what you usually use for the street. And this board is actually 32.875 inch by 8.75 inch. So this is a slightly wider board. My very first skateboard is 8 inch, and this one is 8.75. So almost an inch wider. People say that gives you more stability, like while in the bowl. So I'm really interested in trying it out, but the skate part hasn't been ready yet. So I'm right over here just getting my skateboard ready, assembled, and ready for that really exciting day when the skate park opens. As you can see, they really packed all my parts really well. And they included a envelope for getting all my other parts inside. So again, this is their in-house skateboard. There's no brand there. It's just a blank maple board with 7 layers of Canadian maple. The classic setup usually. And let's take a look at the skateboard itself. Trying to open the packaging. Obviously, here's my receipt. It's surprisingly cheap. It costs less than $100. And all the parts I've picked are actually very quality made parts. So they should last me for a while. And again, I'm not a very aggressive skater, so those parts that I picked should definitely last me. On top of the board, it's very plain. It just looks like one layer of paint, or maybe like the primer on the top, and on the bottom, same construction. Like it's slightly glossy from this area. I don't know what happened to the other area. So in terms of paint quality, I wouldn't say this is a very well painted board. So if you're into customizing, I would say just give it another really nice glossy coat to show the nature of the maple grain, or maybe you can just paint it into different designs, and that's the beauty of a blank board. And this board, the kicktail is it's actually milder than the skateboard that I got, so it's a mild kicktail, and there is also a mild concave. There's not a lot of concave compared to my last board, which was a almost 8-inch skateboard. So yeah, that's my general impression for the board. Let's see what hardware they gave me. Take a look one by one, and then we can start assembling the board, and I'll show you guys how easy it is to assemble a skateboard. So when I first bought my first skateboard, I don't know what to expect, so I chose to pay $5 for them to assemble it for me. But later on, when I got the board, I found out like it's really just super easy to assemble a skateboard, because there are only limited amounts of parts involved. So over here is all you need to assemble your skateboard. Here are some riser pads, optional, but if you're getting larger wheels, it's nice to have a pair of riser pads with a correct thickness for your wheels. Over here are my trucks. This is independent holo trucks, anodized red color, looks really nice. And this is 149mm width axle trucks. So those are actually made for a wider skateboard. As you can see, it's about the same width of my 8.75-inch skateboard. So they are a perfect fit for this skateboard, and they're on sale for less than $20 each. Definitely a great value. So only the red color is on sale. The other colors were, I think, retailing for $25. So this is like a $10 difference when you buy a pair that's on sale. So trucks aside, and those are the hardwares. Those are made by Shorty's 1 1/8 inch hardwares. I think it should be enough to fit my trucks and my my little pad setup. So the bearings, this time I didn't choose a red bearing. I actually I chose the independent, because some people said independent bearings is also a great option. So I want to give those bearings a try, and it's their independent 5th. So I would think it's ABEC 5 rating maybe, because they also have the 7th and the 3rd, I think. So we're gonna take this open and then take a look at the bearing before we go ahead and assemble everything. And the wheels, those are actually a pair of really cheap wheels. This is probably the cheapest wheels you can find that have a brand, or a legit brand. This is the Mini Logo 58mm 1018 Durameter rating wheels. And people say you need a wheel that's at least 55mm and larger for bow skating. So I got a 58. And this is already on the larger side for a skateboard. By the way, my longboard have a 75mm wheel, so those are still small compared to my longboard. But for bow skating, I think those are essential, and those are only $16, give or take $1 or $2. The bearing, I think it's $11. Hardware, maybe $3, $2-3. The pad, I think less than $2. So in overall, this skateboard actually doesn't cost much, and it's all quality hardwares. One thing I really go against is buying skateboards from Walmart. Those Kryptonite brands, they are horrible skateboards with horrible components that you're definitely not gonna enjoy learning your skateboarding on. So don't cheap out and buy the Walmart brand skateboards because they don't last, and it takes enjoyment away from you. And I was really glad that I got a custom skateboard made when I started learning skateboarding. That actually made it a lot of fun. So now I'm learning longboarding and I'm going back to skateboarding. As you can see how much fun a good components could bring you. So I'm gonna open up the truck and open up everything actually. So we're just gonna go ahead and quickly assemble everything. It's really easy, honestly. The only thing that takes a little time is actually the grip tape, and we're gonna apply that in a little bit as well. Those are really nice looking red trucks. I don't know why it's on sale. This should be this should worth more than the traditional polished colored trucks. From having stress by mounting the trucks directly onto your skateboard. The Shorty's hardware, same as when I first got my other skateboard. Those hardware's pretty standard. I don't know why those are that expensive. Literally, you can probably just go to your local hardware store and get even stainless steel hardwares for the same amount of price. But those are actually Allen heads. I prefer the Allen heads because they're actually a little easier to work with. Less chance of stripping the bolts when you're actually tightening the nuts. Okay, so they give you a little tool which is also quite nice. And the bearings, this is the Independent 5. Let's see here. Oh, nice thing is it comes with spacers. Spacers are really important because when you have the spacer, you don't really have any damage of actually over tightening your bearings into the truck and then lock the wheels, and then sometimes even damage the bearing seals by mishandling the bearings without a proper washer. So they give you a pair of 4 sets of washers for 4 sides, and they also give you a how do you call those, the little thing like the padding, small washers. Those are spacers, by the way. Those are washers. I don't necessarily need those because my trucks already came with, as you can see, my trucks already came with washers pre-installed on them right here. So no, I don't really need that, but it's nice that they included additional washers for you guys. So those bearings, just take everything out. So you have 8 sets of washers for the trucks and 4 sets of spacers go in between the wheels, and 8 of those bearings to be put on the trucks, 2 on each side of the wheels. Okay, so put those bearings away. And I'm gonna leave those aside and put it in a Ziploc just in case. So those bearings rolls pretty nice. It's similar design as red, which they only have one side that had a rubber seal and the other side is kind of exposed, but the exposed side actually goes into your wheels, so the wheels actually works as a little dust sealer for let's see if I can zoom it and focus it. Yep, so this is probably closest that it would ever go. Yeah, one side is exposed and the other side have a little seal. It's independent 4 or independent 5. Okay, so 8 bearings seem to roll really nice. There's no weird noise, grinding noise or anything like that. So really good. And it seems to be already pre-lubricated. So I'm gonna lube those for now. If I ever gonna lube those, I would highly suggest the Bones Speed Cream, the best lube there is out there. And so let's open up the wheels. And on my previous board, I had the 90A rating of 53mm wheels on my previous board. They actually works pretty nice on the street. They're not the softest wheels on the street, but then it provides some slight flexibility in terms of sliding around and then going smooth on kind of a smoother surface. So those are actually very hard wheels. It's 101A durometer rating, so pretty hard. And because I'm mainly going to be using this in a bowl, which is mostly made of concrete and hard materials, so the hardware works fine. But if you're actually skating on the road, you might want to consider a softer wheel. Okay, so this is everything you need to get the skateboard assembled. Okay, so the very first thing I'm gonna do is actually assemble the grip tape, because once the grip tape is in, I'm gonna punch the holes on 4 of those corners on each side, and then we can put the truck in and then put all the wheels into the trucks, and then the trucks onto the skateboard, and then it's complete. So let's get started. So I'm gonna leave most of the stuff aside. Let's see. Now to put the skateboard onto the truck, to put the grip tape onto the skateboard, first you kind of gauge on the general area that you kind of want the thing to be at. And wow, this is almost a perfect fit. So all I need to do is some very, very small cuts around the rounded corners around here, and then it should be complete. So this is what's it gonna look on top, and then this is what's gonna look on the bottom. Okay. You know what? Let's do the grip tape very last, and we're gonna assemble the hardwares first, just to show you guys. So the hardware, usually when you buy a brand new truck, it comes with those nuts on 2 sides, and then 2 sets of washers. So one goes into the inside of the truck, and one goes after you put the wheels in. So you can always leave one inside and then leave one out with the nuts. So same thing with the truck on the back. We're gonna do the exact same thing, just take one out and leave one in. And we later on also have to adjust the adjust your truck's looseness a little bit by turning this screw, so the truck will be nice and loose but not too loose for you to lose stability. So that's a fine tune. If you look closely, there are actually rust on the trucks. Before I do anything, I'm gonna actually just go ahead and grease those areas to make sure that the rust doesn't appear, or the rust doesn't stay here for long. Alright, so I got some grease. The grease I'm using is just regular, like your good old grease. This is for my bicycle. It's a Park 2 PPL 1. I've used this grease for years, and it's been working great, lubricating a lot of different kind of stuff. So I'm just gonna take a little bit and then just gently grease all the 4 truck axles. So they are nice and waterproof, kinda, and they don't go rust on me. And again, you don't want to use grease on your bearings. You want to use something with very low viscosity, so the bearing would roll nice and smooth. But you definitely want to get some grease on the other components that are easily rusted. So I'm getting grease on all 4 of those axles, because I've seen some rust. If I haven't seen any rust on those trucks, I'm probably not gonna apply any grease. Okay. So, alright, so just a little bit of the grease, again, completely optional. So I'm gonna leave the grease away, and we're gonna actually put the bearings into those into those wheels first. Super easy to use. Especially easy when you don't have a spacer in between, but even if you have a spacer, this is very essential to have in order to help you push your bearings into the thing. So basically they have those little two balls on two sides. When you push on the top, those balls recess, and then you're able to go through the bearing. And when you release it, it locks onto the bearing, so you can pull it out. When you push it, it kind of goes loose, and then pull and release it. So what I'm gonna do is I'm not gonna push this button, I'm just gonna actually push this bearing into the wheel, and which is like a super easy job with a bearing pusher. And if you have a spacer, I'm gonna show you the best way to actually install your bearing with a non-integrated spacer. So make sure you have a spacer over, you have a washer over here on your trucks first, and you're gonna put your bearing onto the truck, and then put the spacer in between the first bearing. At the very last, you want to put the bearing on the outside of your wheel, and in the very end, you're gonna push this inside, and just with your hand, you're able to actually get this bearing and the spacer nicely installed into the wheel. As you can see, the spacer is inside, the bearing is nicely pushed, and you just installed your first set of bearings, and then you just installed the first wheel onto your trucks, and it is that easy. So I'm gonna do the rest of the bearings and the trucks so you guys can see how easy it is. Okay, so I'm gonna grab another wheel. I'm gonna get one bearing onto the outside of the wheel and use my bearing pusher to just push it in right here, nicely situated. And remember to have a washer in the truck already, and then you're gonna put another set of bearing in here. Make sure the cover side is facing out, okay, and the non-cover side is gonna be facing the wheel. So put it over here, and then put your wheel with the bearing already installed inside of this side of the truck, and just push very to just service it correctly, and it's gonna last you a long time. Same thing with this one. I'm gonna just speed it up for you guys to see how quick and easy it is to just install the wheels onto the trucks. So push the bearing on the exterior wheel, get another bearing in here, spacer's already in place. Interestingly, the paint on the truck is causing the bearing to not go in fully. That's a quality control issue, so I'm gonna try to just push really hard to make sure oh no, it doesn't. Yeah. Okay, so even a very respected brand have some quality control issues. So those paints are actually too thick over here. That's preventing the very precision fit bearing from going inside. So I am gonna still try to have the thing in, and then I'm gonna try to actually tighten the nuts from the outside and see. Hopefully it would squeeze the bearing inside without much damage. Okay, but this is one of the issues that you shouldn't experience with the name brand trucks. That's just not good. Anyway, so okay, I got this wheel, already have a bearing mounted, and find another spacer. Looks like it needs a spacer over here, and we're gonna put the bearing here, another spacer, and then I'm gonna put the set in here for now. Boom. And another set of the washer and the nut. Those nuts are actually self-locking with a plastic components in it. If it ever gets loose, just get a new set, because you don't want those to ever come loose. Okay. So yeah, it doesn't go in. I could sand it down, but then I want to just see if I can use the force to actually just push it all the way in there. Usually it should work that way. So installing this bearing onto the outside of the wheel, and I'm gonna push really hard. And now I'm actually gonna try to tighten it and see if it would actually push the washer all the way in there. But then again, the problem is it's gonna be really hard for me to take that washer out. So it's kind of going in a little bit. But yeah, that glossy coating is definitely problematic. Makes the truck looks nice, but it's creating problems at the same time. Okay, so and to tighten those, you can either use your home tool, any home tool with the correct size of the wrench would work. But then there's also the skating tool, which you can get for like a couple $, at most skate shops. So basically I'm gonna tighten this side until to a point that I'm not able to tighten it anymore. It looks like it's situated in there like very flushly, so I would say it should be good. So we're gonna take it out and take a look, see if the bearing is actually correctly situated inside, because I want to make sure that it's properly installed. So see, that's what I'm talking about. Like it would just get stuck there, and then I would have to use more force to get it out. At this point, it's not much of a problem, but my next maintenance, I'm gonna have some fun taking this thing out. Like at this moment, there's really no way for me to push it out. So I'm just gonna leave it there and then just make sure it's really tightened down. Okay. And the washer is in place, okay? So we're gonna re-tighten it. So at this point, I can just tighten everything down because the truck installation is actually like totally complete. I know I spent a little extra time on the problematic washer, but I don't think it's gonna cause any problems at this moment, so we're gonna let it slide. So again, tightening this side as well. With the benefit of the washer is no matter how tight you tighten it, it's still gonna spin really nicely. Like, yeah, I would say those are pretty good bearings. Like spin for a pretty long time. So this truck, exactly same thing. I'm gonna tighten those bolts first, those nuts first. And we're gonna actually mount it onto the skateboard, just for fun. And before everything, I'm gonna let's see. So still thinking if I should install the grip tape first. That way I don't have to really take the trucks off again to remount them when the grip tape is finished. Okay, so let's see. As you can see, this is probably the most complicated part in skateboarding install, is just get all the screws and washers and your bearings onto the wheels properly with the proper tool, bearing pusher, and some grease just in case, and your skating tool. Like, this is no problem at all. It's super easy to do. Okay, that aside, we're gonna do the grip tape next. So make sure, so the trick to applying grip tape successfully is make sure your top of the deck is really clean. So I'm gonna just use some alcohol. This is 90% alcohol. I'm just gonna spray it down and then wipe it down. And we're gonna get the grip tape, put it on here, and then we're gonna shape out the grip tape, sand it down, and then the grip tape install is complete. So it's also a very streamlined process, so really not much to it. It's just a matter of doing it. The more you do it, the more I would say the more easy it is for you to install the grip tape. So I've already installed like 2 grip tapes for my longboards and for my skateboard, and this is gonna be my 3rd tape. So let's go ahead. And the alcohol should be dried really quickly because it's 90% alcohol. And let's see. So really excited, and this is a really nice looking grip tape. And the only problem is it's slightly shorter than what I need it to be, so I really have to be really precise, because this is, I think, 32.785 inch, same length as this grip tape. The skateboard is the same length as this grip tape. Let's see. And the width, it's I think we have enough width, so we're good on that. It's just need to make sure it's really nicely lined up, like so. Okay. So again, I'm gonna take the paper off, and then we're gonna actually apply the grip tape. And interestingly, this grip tape feels more thick than my other Jesse grip tape for some reason. So I don't know why, but it feels thick. I want to make sure it's aligned perfectly. I don't want to mess up on this thing because it's a one-time go. Right. Kind of holding on to the top, and then just make sure I align them correctly. It needs to be correctly. There we go. So, phew. It's kind of tricky with the concave shape of the skateboard, but it's definitely doable. And the tape itself is kind of slightly stretchy, so you're able to push from inside out to make sure that it actually adheres really nicely to your board. Let's see. So, and I'm pretty sure I'm gonna have bubbles later on. If you're ever gonna get any bubbles, just use a little pin, punch a hole, and then push the air out. That's usually the quick fix. And this is not as grippy as some of the grip tape, probably because of the paint. Again, I don't mind. I love this design. So, all right. And I think another better way is actually just use this side. Just press it down. Make sure everything's pressed down nicely. And a lot of those grip tapes are actually made of glass, recycled glass. So they're actually kind of sharp. So you definitely don't want to use your hands, like the skin contact, too much. Otherwise you might just hurt your hands in the process. Okay. So, and we're actually just pushing it. Let's see. The very next step, I'm gonna use a kind of a blunt object to scorch out the edges. So I'm gonna be doing this just on the edge really hard, but I'm not gonna do this on my table indoors. I'm gonna go outside and do it, and then I'm gonna come back and then we're gonna continue with the next step of the installation. Okay, so I'll be right back. Alright guys, so I am back. What I did outside is I just remember the last step is I put the grip tape onto the skateboard, and then I took a little blunt object, which is my trusted plier, and I just used the edge to kind of smooth out the edge of the skateboard, just doing this, just grinding and grinding. So now you can see a outline of the edge really nicely showing over here. So this is your reference point in terms of using any kind of knife, a sharp knife, to actually cut out the unwanted areas. So I'm gonna use my X-Acto knife. Now I already used this knife once to cut another grip tape, so it's not gonna be the sharpest, because as soon as you use it on any grip tape, the blade is gonna get damaged. So now I only use this to cut grip tapes, okay? So I'm gonna go ahead, let's see if I can zoom in a little bit. I'm just gonna go ahead and start cutting. Now it's also better to cut from the underside. Let's see if I can just do it. But this grip tape is actually kind of thick, so it's kind of hard to cut actually. It's much thicker than the last grip tape that I had. But just cut along the edge, and you should be fine. Even if it's your first time, just do it slowly. It should look really nice with the final product. And I always cut at kind of the thickest area. Sorry, I'm not even showing you guys. So just cut very slowly. Different people have different techniques. This is how I cut it. I just cut it like a saw. Okay, so one side is done, and I'm gonna continue working on this. Okay, so here's with the skateboard grip taped, ready to have the hardware installed. So if you notice there's no pre-drilled holes on top of the grip tape, that's because you just need to create one yourself. And what I usually do is I just probably use this little Allen to punch down onto the board. And sometimes it creates a bump, but this one is actually quite thick, so I'm not entirely sure. Let's see. So it did create a little bump over here. Let me see if I can push it down. Yep, that's nice. So usually I push from one side to just make a little bump, and then push down from the other side to fully press it down in here to make a proper hole. And this is pretty much the most time-consuming part, and it's finished. So now let's get our hardware and just put the trucks onto the skateboard, and then this whole process is complete. So it doesn't matter which one is the front, which one is the back, but just make sure your direction of the kingpin goes towards the inside of the skateboard. For longboard, if you have a reverse kingpin, the kingpin goes outside, but for skateboard, it goes to the inside. Okay, so make sure the direction is correct. And then of course have your mounting pad also ready. So all the hardware is over here. And this is the everything left that needs to be, that needs to be done. So let's see. Again, make sure the kingpin is at the inside of the skateboard, okay? And then we go to the other side to locate the screw, and then just put the screw in. And that's pretty much it. Let's see. Let's do one by one. It's probably much quicker. So I have my screw over here. Still kind of a little tough to push it in here. I may have to expand the hole a little bit using my trusted screwdriver. Just make sure the hole is nice and smooth, because you want your truck to be mounted very securely onto the skateboard. You don't want the truck to come loose. That would be the worst thing. Let's try again. Okay, looks like I'm able to push it through. So just quickly, I'm mounting those 4 screws and then putting the trucks onto the board. Let's just reverse. And this is a beautiful thing. So, very last step, mount your screws. And there's no washer involved here, but if you have a longboard with a job through, there needs to be a washer installed on the bolt side. So keep that into consideration. But if you're doing skateboard, there's no worries over there. Okay. So now it's just a matter of using my skate tool and my Allen wrench, tightening down everything. So again, I'm really excited that I got this board. 8.75 inch setup for bull riding, and also it shouldn't be too bad for commuting, going back and forth from my parking garage to my work. It should serve all those purposes just fine. And it's really skateboarding is really a fun sport, and it doesn't really cost it much like cycling. So because if you get a cycling bicycle, it's going to be at least hundreds or thousands of dollars. So there you have it. Take a look. This is a completely assembled skateboard with just a few simple parts. So next time if you're getting skateboard for, wow, those trucks are really tight. So let me just go ahead and loosen them already. So if you're shopping for a skateboard, if you're a first timer, don't be afraid to pick up the proper parts from reputable websites, and just bring it home and do it yourself, because later on you need to maintain it still. So it's really important for you to know all the components, how the skateboard is set up, and then it will be really easy for you to later on service your board. So now this truck is nice and loose. This one just needs to be loosened just slightly, like so. Maybe too much. Let's see. Yep, about right. Okay, so you want them to be loose but not too loose. That is a saying in the skateboard world. All right. So next step is a test ride, and maybe when the ball finishes at the Lot 11 skate park, I'm gonna be able to actually go over there and have some fun on this board. In the meantime, I'm gonna be practicing a lot of tricks, hopefully basic tricks to be able to ride in the ball without actually going to a ball. That would be kind of a fun. So thank you so much guys for watching. So if you have any questions on how to assemble a skateboard, how to pick up a proper skateboard, you know, how to set up the skateboard, feel free to ask me in the comments section. I know I'm not a skating expert, but from all the skateboard I've assembled, all the longboards I've tried around and played around with, I kind of know a few things or two about general setup for any kinds of longboards and skateboards. So anything technical, don't ask me, but anything relates to the setup, feel free to ask me in the comment section below, okay? Thanks so much for watching, and maybe I'll see you in my next video. So make sure to like and subscribe if you want to see more similar contents coming out from me. Again, thank you, and take care.